obviously, genetics is a huge component when it comes to obviously the way you look, right? Do you feel like genetically some people are more prone to having a higher body fat, and also just in general, like the way your body progresses and responds to training is different for, if you have genetics that certainly prevent you from looking or being more fit? Is that, or is that just an excuse?
Yeah, I mean, no, I mean, look, I mean, think about the hugest, think about being at the Arnold, right? And walking around and think about the hugest man you've ever seen at the Arnold, right? I could think of a couple names, like 6'7", 400 pounds and lean, right? Lean, right? And then you'll see a 5'2" person who's 75 pounds, right? The human body and the the variation of the human body is insane. Is just insane, right? And obviously that comes down to genetic factors. You have your what we call when we're talking about genes, which is the area I studied when I was at Yale. We have phenotype and genotype, giving your things like eye color, height, whether you're going to be more prone to obesity, and then you have genetic factors that turn on and off every single day, which you can control. But anyway, when we're talking about genetics, definitely, there's no way around. We've heard it all the time in almost every sport, right? They're gifted. Whether it's bodybuilding, whether it's the Winter Olympics are going on right now. It's the same case. These are all levels of extremity, right? These are extremes, very high extremes, right? Whether it's muscle mass or leanness and body fat, or it's how fast you can run or jump or ski, right? These are all extreme levels, and you need certain physiological components to excel or be beyond normal, right? Your cardiovascular component, how many red blood cells you make, whether you have fast or more slow twitch muscle fibers in that muscle that's so critical for your sport, right? As a speed skater, you better have a higher percentage of fast twitch muscle fibers in your legs when you're coming out of the womb. You better, if that baby is going to be a world-class ice sprinter, right? He better have a genetic predisposition, right? The person who's going to win the Tour de France better produce higher red blood cells than, on their own, let alone the blood doping on top of it, right? Right? But from the get-go, they already better have, an extreme capacity, an extreme lung capacity, and crazy VO2 max, These are all things that you can't just train for. You have to be born with, and then the training takes it to the next level. So yeah, genetics are a huge factor. Even in, what's interesting is when I was doing my postdoc at Yale, I trained rats how to run, right? On a tread. Yeah. So I mean, that's what we're studying. We're studying their muscles and how they react. We would do a study in humans to see what we get, right? So the way you train a rat is it's a treadmill, and in the back of the treadmill, instead of it just falling off, you have a little grid, and the grid is it zaps them basically, right? It shocks them. It's a very light shock, but it gets them to get off and get back to running. There are some rats that just won't run. No matter how much you shock them, they won't run, right? And for years, researchers would always say that, man, just some rats just won't run. Well, finally, somebody decided to see if there's a genetic, difference there, and there's a lazy gene basically. Just some rats won't run. They won't. They're genetically predispositioned to not run, where the other ones would just run for hours nonstop. So yeah. Genetics, even like you've heard like mold in houses and whatnot, right? A lot of problems with people would, be aware of your mold in the bathroom, look in the ceilings. And that's because people were reporting they're getting sick, but they would find that it would only be one person in the house who was sick and have all the everybody else living in the same. And it got down to the certain, if you were born in a certain area in your, Eastern Europe, you had a greater predisposition to be affected by these molds than everyone else. Genetics plays a huge role. It's probably playing a large role in how people respond to COVID. So,
Do you think genetics also, like we're talking about steroid use, right? Without getting into specifics of each steroid, but like, do you feel like some people genetically can tolerate different compounds and be able to not have side effects and be able to obviously use them for muscle growth, also different sports performances, and tolerate them much
oh,
easier
of course,
than a lot of other people?
you've all heard of like the young bodybuilder who was honestly natural, and then he got a cycle of drugs from somebody and died, right? Or just had all these horrible health problems, and then bodybuilders who've been competing for decades using steroids without any real serious health implications,
Or at least
right?
that or at least on the surface that we know of.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So yeah, obviously, genetics play. It's same thing with smoking, right? There's people who've been smoking all their life, never get lung cancer, right? And then Sean Perrine literally died of lung cancer. He never smoked a cigarette. How do you explain? No. So this is a person who literally followed the best, never drank, never smoked in his life, followed the best diet since he was young, since he, like me, his mom was a bodybuilder and got lung cancer. Do you know what I mean?
He was one of the healthiest people
Yeah,
that I've
it's a
met.
genetic. You can't beat those genetics. You can't. It's unfortunate, but that's that genetics are a huge role in everything.